Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Friday morning edition of the PHLY Eagles Podcast. Bo Wolf here, Zach Berman there. He told me seconds ago, looked at me in the eyes and said, let's have a good show. So let's have a good show, Zach.
Well said. I get excited for this. You said it has to be like John Henderson and slap me on the face, which I'm sure you've wanted to do at some point during these past
No, never.
4 minutes or
Maybe
4 years.
myself, yeah.
There you go.
Probably something you wish to do with yourself at when we've got a 2 a.m. podcast, but those may be days of the past.
Thankfully. I always take show notes, and one of the notes I received yesterday is that when you give me these questions at the start of the show or the middle or the end, whenever it may be, I should turn them back to you. So you asked me yesterday.
So you're just going to revisit something from yesterday? Okay.
Yes. You asked me at the start of the show yesterday if I'm more I don't think you used the word cognizant. I did of my wardrobe now that we're on the screen 5 days a week, year round. Are you more cognizant of your wardrobe? Are you paying more attention?
I've been in the market for making a few additions to the wardrobe. Yeah, this is not one of them, but actually yesterday the hoodie that I wore was a new hoodie. So there you go.
Something to look forward to then, to figure out kind of which days you're incorporating
absolutely.
New
The
clothing
sickos can really follow along. You don't want to repeat too early. This is our second week, no repeats yet. How about you?
I haven't repeated yet.
Okay,
but I think over the course of time I'll probably introduce more as we get
maybe show a little more skin.
I think I'm showing the proper amount of skin.
Add some sex appeal to this show for the video viewers.
I think this show has the appropriate amount of sex appeal.
Well, I think there's always room to add a little bit more. Zach, we got a lot to talk about. For the very first time this week, we have, or you have, talked to players in the locker room. So we're going to talk about what A.J. Brown said about last week's sideline kerfuffle, what Jalen Hurts said, what Nick Sirianni said, what DeVonta Smith said. We have some injury updates based on the practice report from this week. We will get to a few more thoughts on the matchup between the Eagles and Bucs, as this is our last show before the game. And we've got the second edition of Goose Wisely before our Crystal Bald Eagle predictions at the end. But why don't we start, Zach, with what I think is the big news from yesterday. You wrote about it on allphly.com. A.J. Brown talking and addressing the what he said was a 0.5 out of 10, but what Nick Sirianni said was a 2 out of 10. What did you learn from A.J. Brown?
Yes, A.J. Brown was there before he took questions. He had something he wanted to say first. I will read it verbatim here.
Okay.
So we have that on record because A.J. wanted it on record. And, of course, this is referring to what happened in last Thursday's game when cameras caught A.J. and Jalen Hurts in a spirited sideline conversation.
How about berm-batum? I feel like that could be a
berm-batum
segment,
where I read the quote.
You just read
out.
a quote.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is what A.J. said, berm-batum. I prefer verbatim, honestly. First, I want to address what happened on Thursday. And after I address it, I just want to focus on Monday night because that's the only thing important. So on Thursday, the sideline discussion, I want you all to know that's what it was. It was a discussion. It's a game that we both love, and I want everybody to understand that sometimes emotions are high, and that's kind of what happened. That doesn't mean it's the end of the world. That doesn't mean I'm beefing with Jalen. Also, I want you all to know, no, it was not about targets. I'm sure everybody thought that because he threw me the ball 3 plays in a row afterwards. But no, it was not over there. It was not over there discussing targets or whatever the case may be. It was something that happened earlier, and we was having a discussion about it. So I know everybody took that out of context, but it's not a big deal. Me and him are still on the same page. We're still growing. We're still trying to become great and get wins, most importantly. But the reason why I left after the game is because my emotion was high, so I had to remove myself because I know all you all want a story and you all doing your job, and I don't hold any one of you all for it, but I just had to clear my mind before I get in front of you all. So that's what he said before he took questions, and he was very upfront. He was honest. He said that he's okay having these uncomfortable conversations. He did not think it was a big deal. Like you referenced, he thought it was a 0.5 out of 10.
Do you believe that?
So a few things here. First off, it was enough that he was so emotional after the game that he did not want to talk about
Exactly.
it, right? Now, like we've discussed, I think that spirited conversations are fine. It's a good thing, right? Like you should, if you're in a competitive environment and you're a competitive person and you want to succeed, it's okay. You shouldn't run away from confrontation. You shouldn't run away from difficult conversations. So I have no objection to doing that. We don't know the context of it. I don't know if it was. I don't think it's a huge deal. I mean,
a little. There's a little bit of like our sideline conversation was not a big deal T-shirt is causing a lot of questions already answered by my T-shirt thing going on here. Like
okay.
The fact that he has to begin the week with a prepared opening statement and is like, this was not a big deal and it was not about targets, like all this stuff. I mean, it's not nothing.
It's not nothing. But it's not.
And that's not to say that it's not something that happens all the time,
exactly.
and that it's not something that is going to, that it is something that's going to linger. That's all fine, but it was a big deal in the moment, and as you said, it was a big enough deal that he was feeling too emotional to be able to talk about it after the game.
I agree with you with all that. My point is just like the idea that there's a spirited conversation on the sideline is not a big deal to me.
Sure.
Because I would expect that to happen. Like you're out there hitting people and getting hit, and then on the sideline you're just supposed to be apathetic, right? Like
sure.
It's an emotional game. So
I think that's fair. Yeah.
So
I thought it was interesting when he said that he thought that Sirianni made it worse.
Yes. Yeah. So what Bo's referring to is he thought that when Nick interjected, it made it look worse than it was. Yeah. Do you buy that?
Well, yeah. I mean, it did make it look worse. Yeah.
Yes. Actually, it was brought up to AJ that it might have also made it look worse because he was wearing the visor. And AJ was like, no, it was a good thing I was wearing the visor because you would have seen how I looked in that
Now, when
moment.
he says it wasn't about targets, what do you think that, I mean, if you're just speculating, what do you have any guesses? Like there was a specific play or?
Yeah, my guess is, and again, I'm just speculating here. It's probably not a good thing to do, but if he says it's not about targets, my assumption is there was a miscommunication on a play that they were trying to clear up. And they did it in a spirited way. But I think the targets story it's relevant. It's going to be a story throughout the season. I asked him about that, how they manage this on a week-to-week basis, because invariably there's going to be a guy who has the short end of the stick. Bless you. And he said, you want my honest answer? Whenever someone says you want my honest answer, the answer is always yes. I don't want the manufactured one. I want the honest one. He said, it's about who gets hot and who stays hot. That's who we feed off. To be honest, we're selfless guys. We love each other. Like last week, I was so excited. He, being DeVonta, was out there balling. He had a Randy Moss moment type of game. You can't really worry about it. Whatever. And then he said, whenever you get your opportunity, you got to make the most of it. He said, when it rains, it pours, right? So that he thinks, when the targets come, they come in waves, similar to how we describe sacks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think this is the end of this?
Well, do I think it's the end of it? They have the 29th ranked passing offense. They're passing for under 200 yards a game.
Bottle that because let's use this to also discuss like Jalen Hurts' press conference yesterday.
Okay, yeah.
In which he is like, oh, I don't understand. I thought wins were the only thing that mattered. All of a sudden, I'm getting questions about our offense. Like, what's the deal? Meanwhile, out of the same side of his mouth, he's saying the standard is the standard. Yeah. But you asked him, and he won't say what the standard is. And so, the passing offense, as you said, 29th in the league, and that's just total yards. The efficiency of it is not very good right now. It's only been 2 weeks. That's fine. But yeah, if you are a team with Super Bowl aspirations, squeaking by with 2 wins is not the same thing as looking good.
Yeah. So, and I'm happy you brought that up, and we'll get to that. To answer the question succinctly,
Okay.
I think that, and this kind of ties into that, if the passing offense continues to look like this is absolutely going to be an issue because AJ, DeVonta, and Dallas all want theirs, and they should, right? When you're a high-level player and you're capable of being a top option, and last year AJ set the franchise record for receiving yards. DeVonta set the franchise record for receptions. Dallas Goedert was on his way to a 1,000-yard season. When you're that type of player, you're not there to block for DeAndre Swift running for 175 yards. You're there to be a high-powered offense, right? And so I think that I imagine this is going to get rectified. They're going to pass the ball more. They're going to pass the ball more effectively. And as Brian Johnson said on Wednesday, over the course of the year, the law of averages, it's going to average itself out. But if the passing game continues to sputter, then sure, this is going to be an issue, as it should be an issue.
Yeah, I think that's fair. All right, what else? What else did you learn at the NovaCare Complex yesterday?
Well, so the Jalen discussion.
Okay.
So we got so Jalen was saying here, and I won't read the whole quote, but he said, "You look back at the first 2 games, you look at the total yards of offense that we had. First game, I don't know how much we had, but I know we had maybe 450 last week.
Okay, right. So it wasn't very much in the first week. So.
That's pretty on par for what we've been able to do offensively. So when you think about how it gets done, that's what everybody else wants to talk about." And then when it followed up about the way defenses are playing him, he says, "What I'm telling you is it's not about me, it's about us. So if they are doing something there for me, we got 250 yards of rushing to do that. There are multiple ways to win. The thing I want to make clear is, when did winning not become the main thing? I always say keep the main thing, where winning is the only thing that truly matters." Now, where I'm going to push back on Jalen a bit is last year when they were undefeated, it very much was not about it was how you're playing,
right,
and the standard and hitting that standard, right?
Now listen, Jalen Hurts is as good as he is because of the way he's wired, right? And so if he needs to manufacture these slights, like the world is against me, even though I'm on the cover of Time Magazine and Sports Illustrated, and I'm the new Jordan guy, that's fine. You got to do what you got to do, but the whole the winning is what matters. Having the lock screen of losing in the Super Bowl on your phone. If the whole point is to win the Super Bowl, then it's only week 2, and you stack wins how you can, and then you try to get better over the course of the season, and you maybe you can get home field advantage, and that's what leads to it. But the way that they are playing is not up to par with the way that he wants them to be playing, right? Sure. And so. It's a little bit, I think, insincere. I thought winning was all that matters. Like you said, last year they're 8-0, and it's we still got a lot to work on. Yeah. And all of a sudden we're going to be happy with, subpar passing offense. I don't think so. Yeah.
So I hear you, and you are right that he's right. When you're 2-0, winning is what matters. Right, but how you win when you're talking about the Super Bowl aspirations, that matters to how you're playing, right? Because ultimately, yes, the bottom line is to get the win. But when you're talking about the types of teams you're going to have to beat and the way you're going to have to play later in the year, and I know you work to it. Nick Sirianni said this yesterday, that the Eagles weren't playing on February 12th the way, they looked better on February 12th last year than they look now, right? So you work toward it. I get all that. And I think Jalen kind of acknowledged when he did his 1A, 1B, that there is a standard that you try to play to. And the Eagles aren't playing to that standard, at least in the passing game. And that's where they need to improve. And I think anyone who's being honest in that building would tell you that. I mean, I have the numbers right here. What's the expression? Men lie, women lie, numbers don't, right? The pass offense...
Numbers can lie very easily.
Yeah, the passing offense, 29th, 162.5 yards per game. I mean, 162.5 yards per game is not what this team is built to do. That's
Sure, and
not-
there are other numbers that
Yes.
are probably better indicators of the efficiency that they're putting together, and those numbers are not much better. So
Yes.
all of that is true, and it's going to be interesting. I just it is true that really all that matters is stacking wins and staying healthy and
Yes.
getting into the playoffs and being ready and getting better over the course of the season.
Yep.
But right now they are not playing up to what he would, I think, truthfully admit is his standard. So
Sure, nor the standard, the organizational standard.
Right.
And that's a good thing, right? Because
Right.
you don't want to peak at week 2. And I thought, and I had, and by the way, I should put this out there that I didn't have an issue with like the week, they ran the ball really well. They took advantage of that. It's more,
Of course not,
in week 2. I think when you combine it with week 1 and you look at 2 weeks of the passing game playing this way, that's where the basis of the conversation is.
did you like the DeVonta Smith scripture that he passed to A.J. Brown?
I did like the DeVonta Smith scripture.
Do not judge others, and you will not be judged, for you will be treated as you treated others. The standard you use in judgment is the standard by which you are judged.
Yes. So DeVonta gets daily messages, and he got that yesterday, and he shared that with A.J. Brown. And he shared that with the reporters assembling around A.J. Brown's locker. I like that.
And you said that DeVonta was like a little bit more talkative than normal about this whole topic.
He was just more talkative than normal in general. I mean, he went up to, the reporters were around A.J. Brown's locker, and DeVonta comes into the mix, and he says, "Did you tell them what I told you?" And then A.J. says, "Why don't you read it to them?" And DeVonta comes over with his phone and pulls it up, and he reads it to us. And then DeVonta was very kind of honest, and he discussed A.J., discussed the offense. About the target thing, I brought up to him that he was at Alabama with all first-round picks. And like his receiving core every year was like that. And he says that really shaped him. That kind of, I think he used the term molded. I think he said that molded him into where he is now. Like
It's another Batman thing
and
he's going with.
He prefers playing with it. And he said he's played the other way and it's not as fun. And I was like, when did you play the other way? I thought he was going to say his rookie season.
Yeah.
Because I think about that Tampa Bay game in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He said when he was in high school. And then he said, and he watched Calvin Ridley early in his career at Alabama. But yeah, you look at the teams he played with his junior, senior year. And he was also honest about, he's like, yeah, it's not that much fun when you're not the guy getting it, right? It's more easy to kind of explain when you are the guy getting it. I think of the three, Dallas Goedert's the one who probably has the biggest argument right now for like, why aren't you going to me? He has 8 targets right now. But to answer your question, yeah, DeVonta was a little more talkative, and DeVonta so yesterday was the first day of the week that reporters could talk to them, and DeVonta's usually been like a Friday guy. A Friday guy for those who, I imagine most people watching this aren't, like Friday's the lightest day there. It's like the get out day, and oftentimes...
and this week, Friday is Saturday.
Yes. And so when you speak on Friday, it's like, sometimes you can get the best stuff on Friday because there's fewer people there. It's more relaxed. But also, what you say on Friday is probably not going to be like big news because typically it's coming out Saturday morning, So
there you go. Well, Zach, we are back with another week of football, and DraftKings Sportsbook is keeping us in on the NFL action with great offers every single game day. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Throw 5 down on any of this week's epic matchups to walk away an instant winner. And DraftKings isn't stopping there. All customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every game day this September. Football is more fun when you're in on the action, so download the app now and sign up with code PHLY. New customers can bet just $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL with code PHLY. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. Licensee partner Golden Nugget, Lake Charles in Louisiana, 21 and over. Age varies by jurisdiction, void in ONT. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football. Terms for eligibility, terms and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Speaking of DraftKings, Zach, the line on this game opened at 6.5, down to 5 on DraftKings Sportsbook. I think some places have it even as low as 4.5. I wonder how much of that has to do with the injury report for the Eagles. What did you learn yesterday from who might be returning for the Eagles?
Well, so the good news for the Eagles is Reed Blankenship was back at practice. He was back there on a limited basis. Same thing with James Bradbury, two important parts of that secondary, limited basis, but they were out there. That means James Bradbury's out of the concussion protocol, and he's in line to play. I spoke to Reed Blankenship, and he says he'll be good to go. He actually thought if it was a Sunday game last week that he might have been able to get out there. He said that would have been up to the trainers, the way he thinks he would have been able to go. As far as those who did not practice yesterday, Terrell Edmonds with an illness, Boston Scott with a concussion, and then Quez Watkins with a hamstring injury. Quez Watkins was working on the side as I got out to practice, so certainly something to monitor there. Those who were limited was Reed Blankenship, James Bradbury, Fletcher Cox, Zach Cunningham, Jordan Davis, Kenny Gainwell, DeVonta Smith, Jack Stoll, and Josh Sweat. Typically, if you're limited on the first day of the week, you don't really have anything to worry about in terms of playing on Sunday, in this case Monday. So the 3 injuries to really monitor here are Terrell Edmonds, Boston Scott, Quez Watkins, but it's good news for the Eagles that Blankenship and Bradbury are back.
Do you think so? Edmonds, do you think, does that mean, I guess, Blankenship and Evans back at safety and Sidney Brown in the mix, or
yeah?
What's your expectation?
So Edmonds is an illness, so
okay.
we'll see there. But my expectation is Blankenship and Evans back at safety.
And at linebacker, back to Morrow and Cunningham.
That's my guess. Yes.
And then what about at nickel?
So you know what? The Goodrich thing, I think it could be based on matchups, but I'm still leaning toward Goodrich. You sold me this time last week when you basically said, like, this is why Goodrich is on the roster. And I still think there are going to be certain matchups where you play Bradbury on the outside. Bradbury on the inside.
I saw Josh Tolentino reported that he was Bradbury was working with the Nichols coach at the end of practice yesterday, taking some reps there.
That's a good report by Josh T. Ronell Williams is the Nichols coach. So we'll see. I mean, I could see them both mixed in, depending on the matchup, depending on who goes inside.
Okay. Interested to see. For the Bucs, Ryan Neal, Vita Vea, Carlton Davis all limited, and your boy Kalijah Cansey did not practice with the calf. That's going to be tough for your line of scrimmage that is just, according to all of the impartial observers, getting dominated by the Bo Wolf offensive line. Yeah,
so Bo's burner accounts are in full effect today. Bo was up late last night creating a bunch of accounts like Jerry Colangelo here, and he was attacking me with each one.
I think it was Brian.
I'm sorry.
Jerry was too busy hanging out with your boy Sheriff Joe, but
sorry. Okay.
I mean, it's true.
Okay.
Say the truth here on the PHLY Eagles podcast. I mean, listen, I feel like for you, it must have been hard falling asleep last night, harder than normal, knowing that you betrayed everything you believed in and just decided that offensive line doesn't matter.
I don't understand why when I go offensive line and I have the better skill and you have the better skill position players, you rip on me then. And then when the inverse is true.
Because my offensive line in those situations is still good. It's still good enough. Yours is garbanzo beans.
I mean, we'll see. We'll see. My offensive line is protecting a 2-0 team with the quarterback that is 87% on third downs. So just something to point out.
He's 87%.
And actually, has Baker even been sacked this year?
Wait, I am the one who has Baker.
Yeah, I'm talking about the Bucs offensive line.
Yeah, because he's getting rid of the ball quickly because he knows he can't hold the ball with that offensive line.
So now Jalen Hurts can get rid of the ball quickly to Mike Evans, to A.J. Brown, to Kate Otten. He's got
Mr. Cotton. All right. Anything else that is sort of on your radar about this matchup, Zach, as we turn our attention there fully. Or was there anything else from Sirianni you wanted to talk about?
Not necessarily from Sirianni yesterday, nor from the locker room overall or Hurts. We addressed the Hurts thing. It's really trying to get this passing offense in sync. That's the objective. That's a big deal.
And that's going to be difficult this week because we know that Todd Bowles has done a good job against Jalen Hurts before. I think this defense is very good. Todd Bowles is going to throw some stuff at Jalen Hurts. This is going to be a real test of, if he can be Johnny Nash and see clearly now.
So let's talk about that for a second. You were there in Tampa in January 2022. You saw that whole thing materialize. It
was difficult to see. I remember the glass was a little bit not well cleaned. It was dirty glass.
You are such a glass snob. You are such a glass snob.
If you're going to have glass, let's make it able to be seen through. It was dirty glass.
Dirty glass, okay.
Yeah. Spider webs all over that thing. Come on. You're focused on the Bananas Foster. I'm trying to watch the football game.
Not focused on the Bananas Foster, but a little pregame, or a little halftime energy. You can never doubt that. Someone says, by the way, will there be a pregame show Monday? Yes, pregame show and a postgame show. That's right. Bo's going to be hosting. So that game, do you think that's relevant from a Bucs game plan perspective? Because the Eagles kind of dismissed that yesterday, saying, 2 years. I think Jason Kelce said, 2 years in football years is forever. Number one. And then number two, from a motivational perspective, because Nick Sirianni played that down. Jalen Hurts didn't dismiss it, that any piece of motivation is a good thing.
I don't think it's relevant from a game plan standpoint. I think it is relevant from a psychological standpoint. It's Jalen Hurts shouldn't need extra motivation, but I think it tells us that. This is not breaking news. Todd Bowles knows what he's doing on defense. He can put together a good game plan. I think having watched, the Patriots and Vikings sort of stifle the Eagles' passing defense in the first 2 weeks, I'm not expecting Todd Bowles to just be, dropping 50% of the time again. But I think he's going to throw some stuff at Jalen Hurts to try to confuse him. And I think that they're going to be relatively successful at that. I think this is going to be a hard game for the Eagles to throw the ball with a lot of success like they had last year. So
would your bigger concern, and I know it doesn't have to be either or, it can be both and, as Sirianni says, but is your bigger concern what Todd Bowles does with the coverages or what Todd Bowles does with the blitz package?
My bigger concern is the coverages.
Okay.
Because I think that when Jalen Hurts is seeing things well, he can beat the blitz fine. He can also escape. And we've talked about he doesn't look quite as dangerous mobility-wise through these first 2 weeks, but I don't think that that's necessarily gonna keep going. I think what is also a concern here is that if the Eagles are not throwing the ball efficiently, they're not going to be able to just run the ball down Tampa Bay's throat like they did last week. I think that the Bucs front is much stouter, so I think it's a much more difficult matchup for them. I think they're going to have to trust A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith and Dallas Goedert to sort of win some matchups. Now, it's a heavy zone defense, I think 5th in the league, and it's going to be interesting to see what Jalen Hurts sees and does. I feel a little bit worried about this matchup for the Eagles, to be perfectly honest.
Because of that Bowles defense?
Yes.
Okay, not because of Baker and the...
No, yes. Okay. I feel like I don't expect... the Eagles to put up 30 points in this game.
And that game in 2022, if you're Sirianni, are you, like Nick said yesterday, they were just looking at it for scheme stuff. Is it something you are using? Because that really was a line in the sand game. That was an organizational turning point, that game. And I spoke to some guys about it yesterday, and they said when they came back, it was clear that they needed to improve their passing offense. Rich Hoffman, who does a great newsletter for PHLY, you can get that daily. It's in my inbox daily. It came in as I was prepping for the show. I remember Rich had a tweet that year,
famous tweet.
Yeah, during the postseason when Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes were going back and forth, where he's like, "This doesn't even seem like the same football, same brand, same sport that the Eagles play." And by the way, you can say that now when I watch those games on Monday night this week, and I saw New Orleans, and I saw Pittsburgh and Cleveland and Carolina, I think I texted you, like, this is not the same sport that the Eagles can play or that the Eagles played last year, right? Like, moving the ball was such a chore offensively. So that Tampa Bay game, the Eagles were dramatically different thereafter, and I think they were not deceived by what got them to the playoffs, that kind of run and the running style. They knew they needed to throw the ball. So I think that game is relevant. It's the last time they were down there. Jalen Hurts was not good that day, and Jalen's been much better since. So I'm curious if after the game there's anything that comes out about like that particular day if the Eagles win.
And how about the other side of the ball? You are not generally worried about the Bucs offense?
Not generally worried about the Bucs offense. I do think these receivers are really tough, right? We know that, and I don't think Baker's bad, but I think that the Eagles can get after them. That offensive line that I ended up with yesterday is not a particularly good offensive line, especially in the interior. Jalen Carter, this is the closest he'll play to his hometown. I like hometown stories. He's from the Orlando area. I can see a
What's that, a 3-hour drive?
I think it's like hour and a half, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done Tampa to Orlando.
Yeah, you know what? I think I have too, actually. Yeah. It's not that bad.
I was covering spring training one year, and or a few years of spring training, but I had to go back and forth between Tampa and Orlando for a few things. The Braves were in Orlando, Lake Buena Vista at Disney World, and I was staying in Tampa where the Yankees and Phillies and a handful of other Blue Jays are in Dunedin. So I think I pronounced that incorrectly, but yeah. So I did Orlando to Tampa quite a bit.
Okay, congratulations.
Just making conversation. That's what we call a no-sell in the business, by the way.
Yeah, so I think on the other side of the ball, the Bucs are not going to be able to run the ball very well or effectively against this Eagles defense. They're not a good running team to begin with.
You're not a Rashid White guy.
I am not. He's got 3.3 yards per carry. That's 35th of 48 running backs, 33rd in success rate. It's the worst of any running back who's got at least 30 carries. His rushing yards over expected is the third worst in the league, ahead of only Cam Akers and Dalvin Cook, and he's going up against an Eagles run defense that has been very, very good stopping the run. So
You're right.
Yeah, any handoff to Rachaad White is a win for the Eagles.
These are the top two run defenses in the NFL this week as far as stopping rushing yards. By the way, Bucs backfield, I like their backup running back a bit.
Because he's from Syracuse.
Sean Tucker,
Yeah.
Syracuse guy, yes.
Yeah, he can't be that good if he can't get playing time over Rachaad White.
Well, he's an undrafted rookie. He's playing his third NFL game this week. So
Talent doesn't lie. Zach, will you be buying tickets to the game on Monday night?
I will not be buying tickets to the game on Monday night, but I am. I'm going to college football games. I'm going to a college football game tomorrow. I know Tyler behind the glass is a big Penn State fan. I'm going to a Penn State game later this year, but tomorrow, either Villanova or Temple. I have tickets to Villanova, and I've been looking for tickets to the Temple game. And where did I look? No place else. If I'm trying to find last-minute tickets, then Game Time. Because Game Time is the best place to get tickets. Buying tickets to your favorite events should not be stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun that you'll have. One of the great things about Game Times is the images of the seat views. I'm going to the game Saturday with my son. First time he and I are going to a football game together, and he's very curious about what the view is going to be. So we can go on to the app and literally see what that view is going to be. Is it, are you behind the end zone? Are you high up? Are you on a sideline? So that's really valuable to see. Easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area, and the lowest price guarantee with event cancellation protection, job loss protection, and more. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 100 110% of the difference. Get images of your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Tickets are sent directly to your phone so you never have to dig through your email. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHLY for $20 off.
Zach, are you ready?
Am I ready? I don't know what I'm ready for, but yes, I am pumped. I'm ready.
Are you ready for the second edition of Goose Wisely?
Oh, definitely.
Wherein we propose each other two relatively equal possibilities for the game on Monday night. The other person picks. There will be 8 matchups total, and then at the end, we each get to pick our golden egg, and those ones will be worth 2. I'll go first. Are you ready? Again.
If I said no, does that change the sequence of events here?
No, it does not. What would you rather have? DeAndre Swift tops 100 yards from scrimmage, or Rachaad White tops 4 yards per carry? DeAndre Swift coming off his big game last week. We don't know what the share is going to be like with Kenny Gainwell. A good Bucs run defense, as you said.
So this is including 100 yards for scrimmage. Could include receiving yards there as well.
That is what from scrimmage means. That's correct.
I'm aware. I'm almost buying time as I'm debating this one. I'll go Swift 100 yards.
Okay.
I don't feel that strong about that one.
Swift.
Claire
Now, what
says,
do you?
A loyal listener, Claire, says Bo really needs to wear a Willy Wonka hat for this. I think you can luck into 4 yards per carry sometimes. I shouldn't say luck into it, but 4 yards per carry, you can get a big. If you run the ball 8 times and you get a big carry in there, it can boost you up. So that's why I was going back and forth.
Now, what do you expect the timeshare to be in the Eagles' backfield?
I'm going to hold off on that because there's going to be another one where that comes up.
All right. Okay. All right. You give me one.
Okay. Mike Evans tops 100 yards, or A.J. Brown tops 100 yards.
Both just straight receiving.
Straight receiving, yes. No running back or no reverses here.
Beautiful graphic there from Tyler. Fantastic job.
Yeah, that's really well done.
I mean, threw it together in the middle of the show. Fantastic. I'm going to go... I'm going to go A.J. Brown, tops 100 yards. I don't feel great about that. I think the Bucs might try to get Mike Evans on a slightly hampered James Bradbury. But I think the Eagles' passing offense has a little bit more upside, so I'm going to go A.J. Brown. What would you have chosen?
A.J. Brown. I think this is going to be a big A.J. Brown game. I think the Eagles are going to put to rest that A.J. Brown story. Then again, I said the same thing about Dallas Goedert last week. They went to him twice on the first drive, but it wasn't a big Dallas Goedert game. So I do think, though, I would take the over on all your A.J. Brown props.
All right, I got a big one here for you now, Zach. Josh Jobe plays the 3rd most cornerback snaps.
Okay.
Or Marlon Tuipulotu, for the first time this season, plays at least 10 snaps. He has played 6 snaps and 7 snaps in the first 2 games.
Yeah, I feel more comfortable going with Josh Jobe here with the 3rd most cornerback snaps than Marlon.
Theoretically, that would mean that presumably it's Bradbury in the slot and Jobe on the outside, or you're betting on an injury.
Or an injury, exactly. I'm not betting on an injury, but yeah. I'm going with Jobe there just because I think if you're forcing Marlon T to do more, come on, play Jordan Davis more. Play Milton Williams.
We've also been talking about Fletcher Cox maybe playing a few too many snaps.
That's
and
true.
Also, if they're just on the field a little bit more, maybe you get Tui. I mean, it's only 3 more snaps. I feel good about this one. I think Tui's got a shot to hit 10.
Andy Reid's mustache says now this is a Bo one. That is a good Bo bet. So the Eagles pass for over 300 yards, or the Eagles pass for under 200 yards.
Ooh, I like that one. That's a good one. I think they're going to have to throw in this game. I think they're going to have a little bit less success on the ground. So I'm going to go more likely that they throw for over 300 than under 200.
Okay.
I feel pretty good about that one.
Okay. Maybe that's your golden goose.
Maybe. What would you have chosen?
Yeah, over 300. I mean, if they're under 200 again, like that's our huge story next week is come on, this passing game, which is averaging 162.5 yards per game, 29th in the NFL, cannot get past 200 yards. Come on.
But what if they win? Then you should just be saying you guys are amazing. There's nothing to complain about. A win is a win. That's all that matters. I thought that's what all that matters.
It's easy to solve your problems at 3-0. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Here's one for you, Zach. DeVonta Smith, AJ Brown, and Dallas Goedert. All three of them either score or top 100 yards. So it's a big day for all of them, right? Or Jack Stoll and Olamide Zaccheaus, who both have not been targeted a single time this season, both have a catch.
I'm going with the latter here. I don't think the Eagles get all three of those guys in the end zone, nor all three of those guys 100 yards.
Well, it could be either one. So,
yes,
let's say A.J. Brown has 100 yards, but DeVonta and Dallas Goedert both catch a touchdown.
Oh, so one of them. Okay, I see what
all
you
of them hit at least one of those two things.
Okay, I see what you're saying there. Look, OZ is going to be the third receiver if Quez Watkins doesn't play. So maybe he gets a quick pass there. And then Jack Stoll and Jalen Hurts have this chemistry. They just he trusts Jack Stoll. Now, Jack Stoll, in one of the games we did earlier this week, man, this has been a long week. You pointed out
we're just getting started, baby.
What's that?
I said we're just getting started.
No, well, I think all the weeks hereafter are going to go by much quicker. You pointed out Jack Stoll's targets per route run.
Yeah.
And
Olamide is the exact same. He's run more routes.
Bearish on that. Yeah.
Okay. You're up next.
Yes. So this is the one I was referring to in terms of timeshare. Okay. DeAndre Swift gets at least 17 carries.
Ooh.
Or Kenny Gainwell plays more snaps than DeAndre Swift.
I'm going to say Kenny Gainwell outsnaps DeAndre Swift. I don't want to. I'm not betting on injuries, but I think that is a possibility that could happen. 17 carries in a game when the Bucs have a very good run defense, and I presume they're still going to be sharing touches to some degree. Feels like a few too many carries. So I'm going to go Gainwell outsnaps.
Okay.
Would you have taken Swift?
I think Swift is going to play more this week. So yes.
Okay. All right, my last one. Vita Vea and Jordan Davis finished this game with the same number of sacks. Or, at some point in the game, there's a non-offensive touchdown scored.
I'm going with Jordan Davis and Vita Vea, neither one getting a sack.
Okay, well, you don't have to predict that.
Yes, but the same. I'm going with the same number of sacks.
Okay, I think that's probably the right choice.
Okay, and I think I'll make that my golden goose.
Okay. Well, I mean, save a little bit of drama here. You get one more.
Oh, okay.
You get one more one to propose.
Yes, okay. My other one to propose. I'm sorry, Tyler. I sent Tyler 5, so I'm going to go with my fourth one here. This is Hassan Reddick.
Like he's never played Goose wisely before.
I played it one other time. Hassan Reddick gets his first sack, or the Eagles don't get a sack.
Interesting. Now, they didn't have a sack until the fourth quarter against New England. Baker's been getting rid of the ball quickly. He hasn't taken a sack. I still think it's more likely that Hassan Reddick gets his first sack than no sack, so I will take Reddick. Now, does a half sack count?
For Reddick? Yes.
Yes, a half sack counts.
Half sack counts.
Okay. All right. Now, you are going to you want the Vita Vea, Jordan Davis, same sack as your golden goose?
Yes.
Okay, that's your golden goose. I'm going to go with, for my golden goose, now it's got to be one you proposed, I think. I'm going to take the Eagles 300 passing yards.
That's probably a good one to go with.
Instead of under 200 passing yards, because I don't think you're going to get that one at least. So that's a 2-pointer for me. All right. Before we get to our predictions, Zach, it's time to talk to you about Moses Foucault. Foco is a leading manufacturer of sports and entertainment merchandise with a product line that includes Apparel, accessories, toys, collectibles, novelty items, and more. Best officially licensed gear for all sports and fandoms. It's football and tailgating season. Overalls, hoodies, hats, sunglasses, bags, everything you need for a game. FOCO has hooked PHLY up and provided awesome pieces for our sets, as you can see behind Zach. FOCO always has our back and has your back as a Philly sports fan. And they have the best gear around. All you got to do is use the link in our description, and for all non-presale items, use the promo code PHLY for 10% off. All right, you feel like you're ready to go prediction time? Anything else you need to get off your chest? This is our last episode before Monday. How are you feeling? You excited for the travel? Anything else before we get to the prediction?
Yeah, always like being at the games. But
now you're just rubbing it in.
Yeah, but you're the pre and post game host, right? You're the first person. All our viewers tune in to see
this beautiful face,
that beautiful face before and after, right?
Maybe a little bit more skin on Monday night.
Whoa, there. Primetime Bo.
A little Nick Castellanos. Unbutton the buttons.
Yeah, keep unbuttoning the buttons. So I'm always like being at the games, but you're away from the family for a few days. That's
you have the rest of your life with those kids.
That's not the case, but have a lot I'm working on right now. So actually have some time on Monday to knock that out, or not knock it out, but to put a dent in some of that work.
TKO it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
But
maybe the work will throw in the towel. I don't know.
And then honestly, I'm excited. It's been a long time since the Eagles played, so excited to see that. But further, just excited to get into a typical week. Like there's a cadence to football season that I like. You know me, I have a very structured mind, structured schedule, and this has been an unstructured week, right? So I like knowing, okay, this is what the Monday is, this is what Tuesday is, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So next week won't be typical because they go Monday to Sunday, but then thereafter they have a few straight Sunday to Sundays. Actually, their next Monday game from here is the Chiefs game.
After the bye.
Yeah, the Chiefs game after the bye. So at least they're on Sunday.
You're in good shape in October, is what you're saying.
Good shape in October. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
No.
Although sometimes not. Sometimes, those Halloween cookies put me in bad shape in October. Yeah. What about you?
Although technically, I think the Halloween cookies is probably going to make you be in worse shape in November because it comes at the end of the month, right?
True.
So,
True.
But maybe just the anticipation of the cookies. You're just making cookies to perfect your recipe, and you're just
my daughter's
slamming
getting
them
into
nonstop.
Yeah, my daughter's getting into making cookies now. So so there's like a little cookie jar that
like the only thing that could possibly make you more excited about a children's hobby than your son getting into football is your daughter getting into making cookies.
I really like that. Yep.
By the way, we didn't talk about what Jason Kelce said yesterday. How was his press conference?
So yeah, it was interesting in that from the football perspective, he talked about Vita Vea. And he said Vita Vea is probably the best nose guard.
He had a good conversation with A.Q. Shipley about that on the Pat McAfee show.
I didn't listen to that.
I watched it last night, yeah.
Yeah, what did he say?
Well, he was talking about how, what makes him so difficult is that there are guys who you can prepare for having so much power and guys who you can prepare for because they're so shifty. Yeah. You can only, every offensive line technique is vulnerable against something. And the problem with going up against Vita Vea is he can do both of those things.
Yeah, so I asked him, I said for a long time here, you did not really have a nose tackle to practice against. Has, practicing against Jordan Davis in particular helped you for this type of matchup? And he said, he kind of rattled off all the guys who, I was kind of referring to the Peterson era, but he was saying how they had big Clifton Gathers at one point. He said Clifton was a huge human being. Then he said,
but he didn't play the nose really, right?
He said
those long levers. He was,
And he said they had Benny Logan here.
Okay.
He said they had Bo Allen, Honey Bobo, as he called him.
Yeah.
He said they had Haloti Nada for a year. So he said he's practiced against some big guys, and he's correct about that. But
I didn't think Clifton Gathers was going to get mentioned. That's cool.
But he said to your point, he said, Jordan Davis is practicing against Jordan Davis helps you. He said now Jordan Davis and Vita Vea are different types of players. But that's one thing that kind of came up in the conversation. He talked about his comments about like the team being, the temperature being high with the team, and he said it's okay to be uncomfortable, right? Like, and he's kind of giving this speech every year that he likes that. He talked about that last Tampa game when I said last Tampa game, that playoff game a few years ago, where his point, like I said earlier, is that's a long time in football years, and they've kind of changed. He has respect for this Todd Bowles style of defense. He's actually one of the few guys who was in the building when Todd Bowles was here. Trying to think, Fletcher Cox.
Todd Bowles from last year. Todd Bowles from last year.
What?
You remember that?
No.
That was the year after the Todd Bowles was the defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
They played against Todd Bowles.
Okay, in Arizona.
And somebody asked Michael Kendricks about what it was going to be like to play against Todd Bowles from last year. And he was like, Todd. And he could not remember that Todd Bowles was his defensive coordinator the year before.
He could not remember the interim defensive coordinator.
No.
I didn't know that story.
Like, Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles. Yeah. Doesn't ring a bell. So, yeah, Todd.
Yeah, the guy who was leading the meetings. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good story. So a lot of respect for the Todd Bowles defense in the building here.
Last question before we get to predictions.
Yes.
If the Eagles lose this game, what do you feel? What do you feel like the tenor will be? Will it be the things that come crashing down? Will it be some serious adversity? What do you think will happen?
I think the manner in which they lose would be relevant there. But I think if they lose, there's going to be a lot of angst in the city. Going into a home game against Washington next week. We talked throughout this offseason about how the Eagles needed to accumulate wins early in the season. The soft portion of the schedule is early in the season. I think Tampa Bay is better than maybe some people thought. Baker's playing at a higher level, and that defense is playing real well. But I would guess there's angst, and I would think it's misplaced angst. Honestly, I mean, look, I'm not. I don't want to call myself a voice of reason. I think the Eagles are going to be fine. Like they're loaded. It's a long season. Like they're going to be fine. I would say, to channel your boy Aaron Rodgers, I would say relax. They're going to be fine.
Okay.
Do you disagree?
I don't all the way disagree, but it's a little bit on my radar, like the defensiveness that is sort of coming out of the Novacare complex right now about like, we're 2-0. What's everybody worried about? Like,
it's kind of like their playoff argument. We only missed the playoffs like 1 year, right?
Right. And it is different from last year. Like last year's 2-0 looked a lot different than this year's 2-0. I think there's a real chance that they lose this game, and I almost think that there is a they sort of need to get punched in the mouth a little bit. Like I think they're a little bit we can sleepwalk through this on offense. Now I think that's a little bit unfair. And again, we talked earlier in the week about how rewatching last week's game, things looked a little bit better than it did watching live. I have some expectation that they're going to still struggle a little bit offensively in this game, and I think that conversation is going to continue a little bit.
Okay. I mean, if the passing game looks the way it did the past 2 weeks, then the angst would be justified. I'm not saying that it's indicative of how they'll be this season, but the angst would be justified. I certainly hope, though, that the way that they've played the first 2 weeks has their attention, that the way they're thinking about it's not we're 2-0 and everyone's going overboard. The way they should be thinking about it is as Jason Kelce has said, we're 2-0, but we could be 1-1, right? And that they're not playing to their standard. So I think that should be their messaging there. I think Nick should be pushing that button. It shouldn't be, guys, don't worry, everything's okay. Like I just think you look around that locker room, there's too many good players. They're going to be fine. It would really surprise me if this team and look, they are 2-0. Like,
well, the flip side to that is if they come out in this game and blow the doors off the Bucs and win by 2 touchdowns and look really good, and then all of a sudden it can be sort of a deep breath, like, okay, that was just a slow start to the season. We are, you know, rounding into form a little bit. We're able to throw the ball. Then yes, that would be a much different conversation.
You see, I think concern would be higher. I mean, not to compare it to like the 2011 Eagles or the 2015 Eagles, but if you pick up some early losses and the idea is, well, we're real talented and we can just flip that switch, that's more of the concern. Maybe that's the conversation that's happening in Cincinnati right now, right? Where you look around this locker room, everything's going to be fine, right? We were 0-2 last year. We made the AFC Championship game. The fact that the Eagles are 2-0, like, they're going to be fine. They're going to be fine. I feel confident in that. I feel confident saying that.
Okay. Well, why don't you give us your crystal bald eagle in that case?
Yeah, so the point spread is on DraftKings, it's 5, like you said, right? The over-under, I believe, is 46.
Okay, so you're going to predict a 26-20 Eagles victory?
Close to it. Close to it. Slightly over, 27-21.
Okay. Now, do you think this is going to be a 27-21 that is not as close as the score? The Bucs get a late touchdown to cover?
Backdoor.
Or is this going to be one where it's even closer than that and the Eagles get away by the skin of their teeth?
No, I think this is one where it's kind of like a back and forth game in the first half. Okay. The Eagles blow the door open back and forth game in the first quarter. The Eagles explode in the second quarter like they did last year. Another touchdown in the third quarter. It's a double-digit point differential going into the fourth quarter. Tampa scores a late touchdown. They get the ball back in the final 4 minutes, and then it's, is there a reason for concern? Similar to week one. And then
the defense holds firm.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield can't make a few plays. The defense gets after them. Jalen Carter steps in, pushing,
hometown boy.
Jalen Carter penetrates. And
Jason Williams is in the stands, hooting and hollering.
Warren Sapp went to the high school. Same high school.
Tell the viewers the Jason Williams connection.
Yeah, and maybe this is something that
white chocolate.
Maybe this is something that will be explored further later this year.
Sorry,
but Jason Williams, a basketball player who I was a fan of because I was a huge Chris Webber fan, and so I was really into that Kings team.
How often did you try on the playgrounds the behind the back elbow pass?
Yeah. Try it. I mean, I should have
perfected it.
No, but I should have practiced my actual fundamentals more than I practiced that. And then the other thing I used to try.
Did you ever pull it off in an actual game?
Not in an actual game. Yeah.
How about a pickup game?
Not in a pickup.
I think I remember trying it a couple times in an actual game, and maybe it worked once. Yeah.
In 5th grade, there was that Allen Iverson commercial.
I couldn't get my elbow all the way around to make it sort of like a lateral pass, so it had to go backwards a little bit.
Rookie year, Jason Williams was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then the 55. You didn't see point guards wearing 55.
So that wasn't on my radar. That's funny.
What's that?
Just that it was the number. The number didn't.
Really? The number was very. I was very into player numbers.
Interesting.
So Jason Williams was actually a coach of Jalen Carter's in basketball. Jalen Carter played with Jason Williams' son, I believe. So could be a good story down the line.
There you go. I'm on the fence here. I think I'm going to go ahead and predict a 26-23 victory for the hometown Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Whoa.
A bit of an upset. I think the Eagles skitter a little bit. The Todd Bowles continues to have Jalen Hurts' number. Mike Evans makes a few big plays. The middle of the Eagles' defense is an issue. And they come home with all of a sudden in a little bit of a state ahead of a short week against the Washington Commanders, who ended their unbeaten streak at the beginning of last year.
And how do you think the game plays out from a passing game perspective?
I think the Eagles struggle to pass the ball, and I think that it's going to be a lot of continued having to take short completions, not a ton big downfield, and I think it's going to be like a tight game throughout, and the Bucs will have a late field goal to win the game.
And now we're not a talk radio show. We're an online video show here, but we do have comments here. So the comments in
Very upset.
the comments in I'm saying the comments in the post game show. If this plays out, if this materializes the way you say, and you and Jamie are reading some of these comments on the screen, what's the tenor? What's the mood of the fan base if and when that happens?
Probably it's like, Bo, why did you make this happen? We hate you, but boy, are you handsome? Stuff like
Your
that.
wife's watching, I assume?
Yeah. I think it will be what's wrong with Jalen Hurts?
Oh, okay. And if you ask Jalen that, what's wrong with you? What does he say?
We got a winning record. I mean, what are you so worried about? Okay, we'll see what happens.
A lion doesn't concern himself with sheep.
Yes, the lamp is always full.
Lamp is always full.
The lamp is never full. Which is it?
I think the lamp is never full.
The lamp is never. The lamp is always full.
No, I think the lamp is never full. I think you're always trying to fill the lamp. Yeah.
The lamp is occasionally on.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, that'll do it for a full week of PHLY Eagles podcast episodes. We will be back on Monday before the game with a pregame show. Jamie Lynch and I. Jamie Lynch and me. Jamie Lynch and I.
Jamie Lynch and I will be on it.
And yes, you will be watching Jamie Lynch and me. Yes. Zach will be there to not Skype in or Zoom in, but it's a separate program. But you will be there.
I will be there.
We will get to hear from you before and after the game.
And for all our audio listeners, we'll work out the audio to make sure that you don't hear that echo that you heard in the background. I give you my word on that.
Interesting. You're not the one who does the actual audio editing. So for you to give your word.
No, okay. So what I'm trying to do here, Bo, what I'm trying to do here is convey to our audience that we are listening to them, that their comments, first off, we're grateful for everyone who's watching and listening, and that reading.
Extremely grateful.
And reading on allphly.com, and that it's not falling on deaf ears. Like, we are taking this and we will workshop it to make sure that there's not that echo in the background.
All right, there you go. So check out allphly.com, read Zach's story from last night, anything else that comes up, and we'll talk to you on Monday. For Zach and Tyler and everybody else, we thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.